Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jasmina Brozovic from Jasmina Brozovic Astrology. I'm a modern intuitive astrologer, and I'm here again with a special guest. And I'm so excited to talk to Sue. So, hi, Sue. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to talk to you in Canada.
Yeah. So, Sue
Thanks for the
is
modern technology.
I know. There's a ups and downs, plus and minus for everything, but this is definitely a good thing that we can connect from all around the world and share the knowledge of astrology. And you probably, many of you who follow Steve Judd, my teacher, you know Sue from their little Ask Steve Judd chats, which are amazing. And that's why how I found Sue. I just want to mention that she's a brilliant astrologer. Go check out her YouTube channel. Many beautiful guests with great astrology topics. And what fascinates me, and I have to mention that she deals with topic of mortality and how astrology can help us with that. So before we dive into how to read an astrological chart, which is the topic of our chat today, just briefly tell us something about yourself and how did you come to practice and
Okay.
use
Well, I'll do a
mortality.
very short version.
Yes, please.
Basically, I've always known I was going to die from being a little child. I just knew that I was here passing through. That's just what happened for me. And that led me, that sort of unconscious knowing or conscious knowing led me to train as a nurse originally. So I laid out my first body when I was 18, and just something just clicked into, gosh, this is incredible. This whole life experience is the great cycle of life and death. And that led me on to many years later doing an MA in the rhetoric and rituals of death. And then I became an end of life researcher. I was the honorary researcher into one of the first end of life experiences. So we looked at the whole dying process and the spiritual experiences of the dying. That just completely blew my mind, because for me, I just realized that consciousness does not just end, that death is a process of something beyond anything I think that we can imagine in a physical body. And for me, it was this sort of sense of what great mystery is all about, and that it made me even feel more attuned to the fact I was just passing through. And that actually researching the end of life experiences, I started writing books and academic papers on the whole dying process. That was a whole thing, and about our relationship with mortality, and unless we open up to the fact that we are going to die, how do we live? If we don't live, how do we die? If we don't die, how do we live? If we can't die, how do we live? So that's very much Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's teachings, I trained with her organization initially. And then that led to my TED talk on Wear Your Mortality with Pride. And then
I love it.
Yeah, and then COVID struck, because it does. So I was running a lot of workshops and retreats about the whole concept. We're just passing through. What does that mean to us? And then when COVID struck, I just had this download: go and become a trainer. So you don't argue with the universe, do you?
No,
I went, all right.
no.
So I just had the call, and I'd been studying astrology for 30 years, off and on, but really consolidating all my knowledge. So I went and trained with the Faculty of Astrological Studies. I now have hallowed letters after my name.
That's great. I know you should celebrate. But we should celebrate these things. We forget, we go, oh, we did it, and then it's it. We should always be conscious, aware of what our achievements are, and celebrate them. I'm a huge fan of those, because, right? People say, oh, you're bragging. Yes, I am bragging, because I deserve it. That's why Marcy Leo speaking. Anyway, but that's amazing. I know. So I know that this mortality and consciousness is very tight with astrology, about reincarnation. Oh, I froze. Okay, I'll rephrase about reincarnation and everything. So what do you think about it? What do you think about that before we start diving into the
Well, I think,
charts?
oh gosh, I've looked a lot into what reincarnation is and what it isn't. I think you have to go into. For me, I've looked at the Vedic beliefs, the Indian beliefs, and I've also looked at the Buddhist beliefs, and I'm veering on the side of the Buddhists.
Okay.
I just think this is such an enormous topic that we can't do it really quickly, but I do believe consciousness continues. I don't believe in a linear going, I don't believe in a kind of a linear, life isn't linear. It goes around like this. It's an evolutionary thing. So there's so much to explore about reincarnation, but I'm not sure I was Cleopatra. I've got no idea, but I do believe that I have brought through, and this is why I look at the South Node, because I very much veer on the work of esoteric astrology, and I do believe that I'm carrying through a disposition of a particular energy, which you have to turn into an archetypal story to believe it. So, for instance, perhaps people who let's say are convinced that they were very important at some point in a past life. The archetypal story of being Cleopatra might be very relevant for them. But it isn't. It's so complex. It's so nuanced. It's so, you can't. This needs hours of debate.
I know, but it's connected with astrology and what the purpose of our living here. And there's a story behind it. That's the whole point. That's perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back to the basics. So I know many of my followers and your followers and just people in general, everybody knows their sun sign and they know what, that's how even I got into astrology. My dad told me you're a Gemini. Then I like, oh, what is Gemini? And then started exploring. But I remember the first time I took a look at my chart. I was a teenager, just early, something. It was before internet, so it was complicated. But I remember looking at my chart and I was thinking, oh my God, what is this? Like, what does all this mean? All these symbols and glyphs. And I was thinking, it's like a map. Like that was my first thought. Oh my God, it's a map to something. So what would you say, how to read, what to do with all this when people first see, because they know something, but when they see this, what is this? What does this mean?
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you look at it, if you don't know about astrology, it's crazy. It's great. I don't know what this means. Basically, I'll tell you what I do, how I do it. The first time I look at somebody's chart, I always say a prayer. I give a meta prayer, which is, I wish them well, and I wish them happiness, and I wish them peace, and I wish them to connect with their higher self, and I wish them freedom. That's the first thing I do ever when I'm looking at somebody's chart. And that just connects me with them. And then I look at what the chart is initially telling me. So it's like the first impression. So before I do look at the sun, the moon, the ascendant, whatever, I just go, chart, what are you telling me about this person? And I have masses of notes, and I just write notes all the time. Anything that comes to me, and it may be something weird that jumps up that perhaps I wouldn't necessarily notice, but it talks to me, and it's always right.
Yeah,
always has a powerful message.
I agree. I always say, before I start, I go, this person came to me at this moment for a reason. Whatever I tell them, they need to hear it from me at this moment. And that's what it is,
Right.
Because you can talk about a lot of things and different people have different perspectives, different astrologers, different, angle. It all works, guys. It all works. All the house systems, I know you guys confused, are working. All traditional modern techniques, everything is working. It just like each one of us have some kind of preferences just because they feel comfortable and more at ease, or just more, the way we click with some things, right? But I agree 100%. You need to know the archetypes, you need to know the techniques, but at the end, it comes to your intuition. It comes to that little thing, right?
Well, I look at the symbols like portals. They talk to me. Of course, you've got to know the basics. You've got to know what the symbols mean. You have to know about the houses. You have to know about the signs, the astrological signs, the 12 houses, all the meanings. You have to understand the very, very basics of astrology, the technical stuff. And then I feel like two things happen. I start to prepare the chart, and I'll explain how I do that in a minute. But I feel like when I prepare the chart, it's kind of half alive. I need that person with me on Zoom to bring that
me
chart
too.
alive. Yeah,
me too.
There's a whole different experience that happens with that. So how I do it, I go for first impressions, and that for me is really important. I then go straight to the elements and modes. Know if they've got an element missing or a mode missing. So I really look at that. I look at the polarities. What kind of person are they? Are they more introverted? Are they more extroverted? And already I'm beginning with the elements and modes and the polarities. I'm beginning to get an understanding about who they are. Then I look at the sun, the moon, and the rising, the ascendant. And I always write down the element and mode of each one, because that's another key for me, because they may have come here to experience a range of elements and modes, or all of the sun, the moon, and the ascendant may be very intensely, let's say, cardinal. So they're very go-getty, or they may be very watery or fixed. Then I look at and when I do the ascendant, that gives me the key to what their chart is. Is it a fixed chart? Is it a cardinal chart? Or is it a mutable chart? And then it's beginning to kind of flesh out the picture. And then I go into angular planets, really important. Is a planet creating a relationship with the ascendant, descendant, IC, MC? Those are that's the grand cross of astrology. And if they're going to influence that person in that whatever angular it is making.
Those are the portals to the world, right? Ascendant is how we approach, and midheaven is how people see us. Descendant, how we relate to others, and then I see where we're coming from. So just for people who don't know, a quick
the roots.
Those are the roots.
And if you have a lot of planets, for example, in the 4th house, that's about your family, your ancestry, your roots, that kind of vibe. Don't forget, it's always going to affect how you are in life, how you present yourself in life, because it was such a learning for me when I got that everything is a polarity in astrology.
Yes, I know.
I mean, when I got the access, I was like, oh, now I understand. So that was a big learning for me. So I do the angular planets. I always look at the retrograde planets and the mutual reception, the unaspected planets. That's a big one, which I think probably needs a whole discussion on its own. The dignity, fall, detriment, because if you've got planets that are affected, let's say,
I just call them not happy, maybe, where they are. Like kind of, that's what I call them, like
they're not happy.
In a nicer way.
But they're not maybe functioning as well as they might be if they were in their own dignity, or they weren't in a house or in a sign that created that.
Someone said, and I thought it was really nice, when a planet is in their own sign at home, when it's opposite or somewhere else, it feels like a stranger, like this is not my home kind of a feeling. So that's why it needs to adjust, and maybe lots of challenges, just because it's not, at home you can do whatever you want, right? You can walk naked, you can do whatever. When you're not at home, you just kind of can't be yourself in that sense. So you need to kind of work with
it. There's a kind of anxiety going on, because you don't quite feel safe. When you don't feel at home, you're slightly on edge. You know what it's like when you walk into somewhere and you're thinking, oh, I'm not quite sure about this. And immediately you're kind of like, not not sure about this. And that's, I think that's that subtle feeling of planets that are not at home, or they don't feel at home, or they're not happy. There is a subtle tension going on, whether we're conscious of that or not. But gosh, it helps people to understand why they don't feel comfortable in certain situations.
That's where astrology helps. That's what I always tell people. It's such a helpful tool. I don't care if you believe in it or not, just use it. Just because it's going to help you and people around you, it's going to be just, anyway, it's just interesting.
It is. I say it's a map and guide of your life.
Yeah.
It's up to you whether you want to use the map and guide, but if you do, it's there. And I'm sort of quite old these days, and I wish somebody had sat me down when I was 14, maybe 12, 13, 14, and just explained who I was to me, because I went into the world probably like everyone without a clue. There was no rule book. So I was blind. I was thrashing around in the dark, trying to understand who I was. And gosh, it's helpful when you know.
Absolutely. I became a mother 4 years ago. Just helping me understand my child's moon. I don't even have to go beyond. I don't look at forecasting for him. Just understanding him, his emotional needs helps me so much. And I always mention this in all my videos. Like, he has a Scorpio moon, I have a Gemini moon. Imagine if I didn't have astrology. Imagine, like,
that would be really challenging.
He tells me, "Mommy, stop talking. That's it."
And he goes and broods in a corner.
He needs time to process internally before he comes and blah blah blah. So astrology is a very powerful tool, and with this modern era coming and astrology waking up and people having ability to learn and to help themselves and live better lives, I'm so excited about that. Anyway, go on. I can go digress.
I think, I think the other thing that's really helpful is when you look at Mercury, I hope people are watching it. If you don't know what Mercury is, check it out on the internet so you actually understand the glyph of Mercury. But it's the way you think. So in your chart is a clue to the way you absorb information. Or you deliver information.
Or how you learn.
Learn. Learning, I think, is more to do with Jupiter.
Oh, you would? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, it's interesting if Jupiter and Mercury don't meet each other, or they're square, that can be a real problem, especially early on in life, how to absorb information.
How to process. Some people are slow learners. I mean, slowly processing information.
Yes. So there's all these little keys. Venus gives you a clue how you're going to open your heart or not, how you can love, how you value yourself, how you feel you approach relationships. The moon is about how you relate emotionally in life. I've got a very cool moon. My moon's in Virgo. Where's your moon?
I'm Gemini moon.
You're Gemini, so you're very Gemini, aren't you?
I'm very Gemini.
You're very Gemini. So but the thing is, between us, you and me, we have Mercury in common.
Yeah.
But you're wanting to push information out, and I'm wanting to discern it.
Yeah.
So it's all of these nuances which are so fun.
I know, it's amazing.
How do you express your sexuality, your assertiveness, your aggression, or your desires? And it's all wrapped up in which astrological sign it's in, and then you look at that.
I know, it's amazing. It's such a beautiful journey exploring your chart.
Yes.
Isn't it a beautiful journey just to find out, and then this connects with this, and it's, they're talking to each other. These two are not talking to each other. Why? And then you had tried to make amends with them. Do you look at the ruler of the chart? I find that very important. I always look at the ruler.
I find it interesting, actually. The ruler is an interesting thing for me, because Christopher Renstrom, who's a wonderful astrologer, an American astrologer, he says that the ruler of the chart belongs to the sun sign.
Sun.
Now,
Yeah.
I've been taught it's the rising sign.
Yeah.
So my rising sign is Sagittarius. So my ruling planet, according to that, is Jupiter. So I'm more mindful of the sun, what rules the sun, and also what rules the ascendant. But I kind of stick with what I've learned, which is that the ascendant is what is the ascendant's ruler? Where is it in the chart? What house is it in it? And when I'm looking at a chart, I always color it in so that I always remember
Absolutely
what it is.
Yeah, both are important, because the role of the ascendant is something that it kind of leads you in your life, how how it drives you through life, right? How you show it. But the sun is somewhere you kind of want to go. It's your path. It's where you're headed. So the ruler of sun can help you, if you know what is he doing to help, right? To go towards how to drive with your ascendant ruler towards. I always have these stories in my head. How can they can help each other, right? So
absolutely. So I think if you look at a lot of people go, oh God, I've got a terrible chart. I've never seen a terrible chart.
Me neither.
I've seen charts that don't zing. Definitely that there's a lot of water signs or not a lot of aspects, and and they're trolling along singing a song. And then I've seen a lot of charts which are incredibly challenging because they've got oppositions and squares. But these are the people that go out there and do it
and make it happen.
Really make it happen. And we need both. We need people to go out there and do it, and we need people to actually be more reflective, more more yin, if you like, more celebrating the feminine energy, the feminine. We need both to have the balance. So we live in a very go-getty, got to be terribly successful, otherwise you're a failure society. And it doesn't make room for people who are not like that. And we get caught up in this endless scrabbling to be successful. But there's lots of people here that aren't destined to be on the stage of Glastonbury.
But
They're
what
not.
is, and what is the success? Like, it's a success the way society puts it. Like, it's all conditioned. It's all put there. We can change the perception. So I hope. I'm so hopeful. I know Steve is always talking about it, and I'm always on his side, being on optimistic side. That this Pluto in Aquarius and then Uranus coming into Gemini, and all these energies are really going to help us shape our system, the way we see things, that we want to do things, the way we, values and everything, right? Yeah.
Well, I had a lovely conversation with, oh God, his name's gone right out of my head. It'll come back again. Stephen Forrest.
Yes, evolutionary astrologer. Yeah.
And we were talking about the North Node axis, and I was saying to him, does everyone get to it? Does everyone, because you have to walk the fire, go to your North Node. Your North Node is where you've never been. It's evolution. It's like scary out there. Don't know that bit. I'm very comfortable back here wearing the jumper with lots of holes on it and being in my patterns. So, the North Node is saying, come out, just come in, just expand who you are. And we were talking about, and we were saying about dying, and I saying, I believe that people are at peace when they die, when they've actually reached their North Node, because they know they've done it. There isn't something left undone. And I'm really curious about this. This is my philosophy. It's my thoughts. It isn't necessarily shared by anyone else, but because of my interest in dying, having witnessed people die peacefully and people die in distress, there is this sense of existential angst when you haven't, you haven't done the work. I'll put it that way. I call it the Magnus Opus.
No, I like it. I was just thinking about some people in my life, and my dad, for example, he has North Node in Taurus, and he always wanted to produce tangibility in his life, but it wasn't him. He just wasn't able to get all this material wealth, and I'm thinking he's gonna live forever. It's just, I'm kidding. Anyway, it's interesting. Yeah. So another point, you mentioned moon, and I want to go back to moon just because uh, moon is something that we need to feed to be happy. It's our sense of security and emotions. And I encourage people when they want to learn more about their charts, not just the sun, but the moon sign and the ruler of the moon. I think it can help them, just everyday things to understand, how they react to things. What do you feel about the moon?
Oh gosh, it took me years to grow into my moon, because again, I thought I'm here to be I mean, I now know, looking back, a Virgo moon needs to be of service, otherwise it doesn't feel fulfilled,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel worthy. And I didn't understand that, and I couldn't fit in anywhere. Everything I tried didn't work. And it was only when I really started stepping into working in the whole using my mind and being a researcher that I started to go, my moon started to literally to shine. She started to vibrate and go, you're on it. This is what I'm here to do. And of course, being an astrologer for me is wonderful, because I can bring all my trauma work, my therapy work, and everything I've done with the end of life into my astrology, with my moon leading the way as a somebody that wants to make this world a better place.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and it is the sign. I don't ever call myself a healer. I don't resonate with that personally, but there is this sense of wanting to help people to
Yeah.
understand who they are.
Yeah, and I know Steve calls us catalyzers, kind of a thing,
Yeah. Yes.
not healers in that sense. Which we are just. I'm always saying, like, I can, I'm learning how to read the language of stars as a Gemini, learning the language, and I can convey the message to you. But it's up to you to make a decision, or I can help you, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So, but it can be really helpful. Interesting. So, what else do you look after you've gone through
Okie doke.
things?
Very much so. The hemispheres. South, north, east, west. That gives an incredible clue again how this person relates to life. So you're building up a layers and layers and layers of information about this person before you've even met them.
Yeah.
So you've got a pretty good idea how they relate to life. You might not have a profound understanding of their psychology, although you've got clues. It's only when you speak to them, and when I speak to them, I begin to, oh, right, now I understand. So I do that, and then make a note of all the tight aspects. I then make a note of the IC-MC axis, and look at the ruling planets, and obviously what signs they're in, what I think that's really important. And it's incredibly revealing when there is a planet, particularly for me, conjunct the IC, because that explains to me their ancestry or their relationship with their family, their home. For instance, had a gorgeous client the other day from Ireland, and he was Catholic, and he had Saturn right next door to his IC, and he'd taken total responsibility for the family, even as a little boy. And it's that kind of portal that you can just go, just tell me a bit about your
I know, but
family.
Saturn is also putting a guilt on us. If you don't, if you're not responsible, you feel guilty. So there is like and especially if you're raised Catholic, I was kind of raised. It wasn't very strict, but it was still there. That guilt. I just, it took me ages to get rid of that.
Yes.
Ages.
Well, I don't know if we ever get rid of anything. I think
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It learns to walk beside. It's your story.
Yeah.
And it walks beside you rather than overwhelming you. I think that's how I look at what
Yeah.
our stories, because we're
Mm.
all going to experience grief. We're all going to
Yeah.
experience loss. It's part of the deal. We're all going to experience death, and we're all going to die. So, this is part of the human experience. And for me, understanding how we can make the best of who we are with the help of an astrology chart kind of enables us to live while we're here.
Absolutely. So shortly, like if somebody would ask, like all these skeptics, and what is this, and you show them the chart or whatever, and then in just a few sentences, why astrology? Why not something else?
Well, I think astrology is part of the story. It doesn't have
Okay.
to be the whole story. I mean, for me, it's part of my life journey, and I've explored everything there is to everything there is to explore. I think about psychology and who I am and how I am, not a stone unturned. But for me, astrology kind of gives me that extra. Does it give me an extra? It gives me sort of a different hue, it puts in more
Mhm.
color into the story.
Okay.
That's for me. And I think that
Mm.
astrology is part of the story. That doesn't necessarily mean to be the whole story. I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah,
clear
okay.
about that. And when I
Okay.
have clients that are stuck, or I can see that they're sitting on trauma, I pass them down to the line to family constellation people.
Yeah.
I especially when they've got a very strong 12th house and they don't understand that they're psychics and mediums. I always put them in touch with the School of Psychic Studies.
Yeah.
If or drawing, art, anything like that, I pass them down the line. Sometimes I
Yes.
say, look, it might be a good thing for you to go and talk to somebody you trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a door opener.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a client also. I told him, look, I think you need a marriage counselor, not an astrologer. At this point, unfortunately, it's just kind of, but it's
Yeah,
interesting that at least they kind of, astrology opens the doors to your awareness, and then
yeah,
it can help you make a better decision where to go next. Or,
absolutely. But it's a very strong foundation stone to stand on. That's how I
yes.
look at astrology.
Ah,
It's
good
one
one.
of the, it's a keystone. And
Yes.
some people would say human design is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will say therapy
There,
is actually.
yeah. They have
There's
genetic keys. Now I heard about genetic keys recently as
mm,
well. There's a bunch
mm,
of stuff. Yeah, yeah. It all helps. I mean, but yeah,
absolutely.
astrology. I think that
Mm,
astrology is the oldest tool. That's why kind of I I go toward astrology because it was there from whenever, right? That the
yeah,
first people were looking up, and and then writing down in caves, and then later it was just all this other stuff came later. I feel the psychology and human design, we kind of, it's a modern version, but this was always there, touching,
it was. It
right?
was
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the stars have always been talking with us, and I've done a couple of talks now on. So, how does astrology work? And I've interviewed astrologers, really leading astrologers about how they feel it works. And it's a fascinating process because still nobody knows.
Nobody
But
knows.
I
Yeah.
do feel, I don't know, I think with Pluto moving into Aquarius, I think there's going to be, I
Mm,
think quantum physics is going to explode. And this whole concept of
mm,
looking at quarks, which are the fundamental building blocks of life. And life is, if this is so, the whole of we're part of a conscious universe. But then, the ancients knew this. And then, we come along with the age of enlightenment, think we know better. Ha ha. So I think there's going to be an
mm.
explosion of understanding that we live in called a panpsychic universe. And the
It's
universe
amazing.
needs us as much as we need the universe. And we are expressions of that universe. And therefore, it is alive. We are alive. Everything is alive.
I know, it's so beautiful. I know. I mean, the Uranus Gemini making all these beautiful aspects with Pluto. I can only imagine. And we astrologers say, as above, so below. for a reason. Like all these patterns that planets are making, we can see the same shapes around us in their nature. So to all the skeptics out there, before you start judging or putting astrology in some kind of assumption or perception of something, that just because you heard something, just give yourself a little bit of time and explore just a little bit to see what's behind before you make judgment. That's
I agree, but you know what? If astrology calls you, you can't ignore the call.
yeah, that's true.
So I don't. It doesn't bother me if people go, "What a load of rubbish." Go, well, whatever. When your time is to be called to learn about astrology, you
that's
will,
good.
because you can't ignore it. And if you want to go and explore something else, go for it. I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do your life, but all I know is I got called. And I've interviewed a lot of leading astrologers now. I mean, a lot. And each one of them will use that word, I got called.
Yeah,
Absolutely. There is this, and you can't not. It's like it opens a door and you look inside and go, oh my goodness me, this is multiple rainbows in here. I'll be here forever. I'll be here for lifetimes.
Yes.
And I think that's what, for me, is so interesting.
Yeah, that's very good. Oh, this is so nice. Like we can talk forever. Because it goes on and on about anyway. But you're right. I just always feel like I have a Venus in Cancer and Jupiter in Cancer. And I was like, I'm caring for others. Like, oh, you're missing out on this. I want to take care. I want to nurture you with astrology. In a sense, like I always feel that they're missing out on some kind of beautiful nurturing aspect as well, right? So with this thing, but you said if they're called, they'll come, and I agree 100%.
And it's not for us to tell them when to, how to, why to. It's up to them and their higher self and their relationship with this extraordinary universe when they are called, if they are ever called. A lot of people go off and do something else, which is their prerogative. But all we as astrologers can do is hold the space for people who do want to know.
Yes. Oh, yes. And that's what you're doing on your channel as well, putting the word of astrology out there, and you're doing it beautifully. And you're so wise. Like just listening to you, I could just anyway. And there's so many other topics I want to talk to you, but next time I think I want to dive in more into all this mortality and consciousness. I think it's very interesting, and connection with the 8th house and stuff like that. So that would be an interesting topic.
Well, I'm actually going to be doing, just to let you know, I'm doing an interview with Felicity Warner. I've already done one with her. I'm doing another one with her about the whole dying astrology and the dying process. And we're going to be putting it out in December.
Excellent. Yeah. So if everybody, please go follow Sue. So before we close out, final words. Do you have anything final you want to say about the astrology in general, or about the charts itself, or just a few words before?
For me, it's just remember that we're living as part of this incredibly alive, conscious universe, and we are expressions of that. And if you know that, oh boy, your life opens up.
Oh, I love it. Okay, thank you so much, Sue. Tell people where they can find you, your website, your YouTube, and please.
Okay, so I'm Sue Brayne, Brayne. My website is suebrayne.co.uk, and my YouTube channel is Sue Brayne Celebrating Astrology. So I hope to see you guys there.
Absolutely. I'm going to put all the links in the description below. Please go subscribe to her channel. I'm addicted already. So with great guests, and but the way you convey the message, it just resonates with me so much. Anyway, I love it. Thank you everybody for listening. If you have any comments, or as always, please share, share the knowledge of astrology with others. Thank you, Sue, again. I hope you see you soon. Good luck with everything. And before we just wrap up, do you have anything going on? So you said you have some talks you are doing, or articles or books or anything.
I don't write astrology books because I think there's an awful lot out there, but I do write books on end of life and death and dying. And my latest book is called Living Fully, Dying Consciously, and you'll find it on my website.
Absolutely. Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sue. And talk soon. Bye.